before great plans that you have for this weekend in Lisbon. We have 3 presenters today, as one person will not be able to join us. I asked that each of the speakers would take 20 minutes, not more. I will mark 2 minutes before your time is up, and I ask that you keep the guidelines. And after that, we'll open the floor for discussion. So our first speaker is Maria Fodiati. I hope that I pronounced it well. And she's going to speak on documenting the forgotten conflict bunkers of West Greece and ongoing research on the IB defense line. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Fodiati. I'm an archaeologist from Greece, working for the Hellenic Ministry of Culture currently. And I'm also co-founder of the Histor NGO organization, which we're doing together this research. I'm really happy to be here with all of you, learning so many interesting things about the projects around the world. I'm going to start by presenting a field research project that started in the summer of 2023 after discovering a single concrete bunker in the area of Grevena, Western Greece. I will explain to you where this area is. So accidentally, it all started, and here we are now 2 years later. So this is Greece. Grevena, you can see there, the city, is a city in Macedonia, not Fyrom, North Macedonia now, but it's in West Greece, and constitutes the main area of investigation. During the 2-year field research, we expanded, however, the investigations to area a little bit further north in Kozani and Florina, you can see this in the map, as well as in Epirus. It is this region somewhere here, imagine that, here. So a little bit south, covering basically over 500 kilometers of research. It is expanded in Pindos Range. Pindos Range is Greece's largest mountain range and essentially continues the Illyrian and Dinaric mountain system. This vast complex of mountains, peaks, highlands, valleys, rivers, and gorges that traverses mainland Greece served as a battlefield during World War II, as well as naturally fortified defensive positions. Examples include the Kalamata River at the Greek-Albanian border and the Aliakmonas River. It's this huge river, it's the biggest river in Greece, that extends in central Greece, let's just say. You can see in the map. Where is it? And of course, it's the Strymon River in northern Greece, which was the natural, let's just say, borderline between Bulgaria and Greece. Exploiting the geological terrain, the Greek army drafted a significant defensive plan around the mid-30s. The interwar now period between the 2 world wars marks a critical era in Greek history. The large major Greek-Turkish war ended in defeat for Greek forces in 1922 and resulted in population changes and a refugee crisis. We can see a boat with refugees on the top image over there. Over 1 million refugees integrated into the Greek society. Despite these hardships, Greece was striving to stand on its feet, facing economic crisis and political instability, with frequent governmental changes and coups. At the same time, the rise of fascism and Nazism in Europe brought new threats. In 1936, the elected Ioannis Metaxas, it's the gentleman with the glasses, imposed a military dictatorship, preparing the country for the incoming war. The military situation of Greece also was really bad, because the governments from 1923 to 1935 did not give due attention to the armed forces, mainly because initially there was no prospect of war on the horizon, and secondly, the country had more pressing issues. By 1933, there was no comprehensive fortification plan, but the Greek Army General Staff had drafted various plans for possible threats, not serious plans, of course, for neighboring countries such as Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Turkey, and Italy. In 1936, began constructing the Metaxas line. The Metaxas line is a line of 21 heavy bunkers. I will explain to you later. The Metaxas line is to prevent Bulgarian expansion, which was considered for some reason quite a threat compared to other neighboring countries. These initial works were based on French models and focused on resistance to artillery and multiple bomb strikes. In 1938, a Greek delegation visited the French Maginot Line, I hope I'm saying it right, and adopted improvements such as replacing trenches with complex fortification, building underground shelters, etc. This is the Metaxas Line, which is 21 underground fortification complexes and dozens of supporting points and resistance centers had been constructed in the border mountains between Macedonia and Thrace, practically the northern borders of Greece, south to Bulgaria today. Now, regarding the Greek-Albanian border, no fortification study had been drafted until 1939, a year before the war, where the Italian occupation of Albania created an immediate need to organize the defense of Epirus. Epirus is the region right after the Albanian borders, and Western Macedonia. Alexandros Papagos is the man depicted in the picture, served as the chief of the general staff of the army from 1936 to 41, then as commander of chief in 1940 to 41, and later as prime minister from 52 to 55, and made an initial pre-war assessment stating that an Italian attack would be difficult to hold, at least initially, especially if a Bulgarian attack also occurred simultaneously. Thus, the IB operation plan that was drafted, and the IB stands for Italy and Bulgaria, it's the initial of the countries, emerging for the need for a main resistant position, which would be the maximum retreat and abandonment line of national territory. With the green, as much as you can see, this is basically the line, the IB line, that's protecting Greece from Italy and Bulgaria. So, the plan envisioned the main resistant line using basically the mountain range, being those mountain ranges that we mentioned before, and I don't have to mention, but Aliakmonos River, the one that I showed you earlier, and other big rivers in between. So this defensive line was identified and recorded from summer 2023 until May 2025, kind of accidentally. We bump into this line. I will explain to you shortly. So we can see, there we can see the rivers as well, and the area, it is very mountainous. Imagine that there are mountains more than 2,000 meters high over there. So the initial discovery of the defensive line, this is one of the first bunkers that were discovered in the area, was accidental when a concrete bunker was rediscovered in the village near Hrevena called Anthrakia. When I said it was discovered, just driving to work, and I saw it, so I was start seeking for more bunkers, and I found the line basically. The initial on-site investigation included searching for and locating additional fortifications, so that was the starting point for developing a broader and more systematic research initiative. So the initial phase involved scanning and field investigation aimed at locating fortification positions around the known gun bunkers, the ones that I found initially. We did not know the typology, the construction date, or the builders who made the structures, which influenced obviously the subsequent research process. We thought it was German, to be honest, at the beginning. Through oral testimonies, we managed to better direct our investigations. We spoke with various locals, but those two gentlemen, Mr. Dimitrios Panioras on the left and Mr. Kyrillis Kostas on the right, it was the key witnesses, because both of them, they were born in the 1920s and 1930s, respectively. Both witnessed the construction of the defensive works, and they actually worked on the construction of the works. So the dating of the fortification places them between 1950 and 1955, contradicting our initial hypothesis that the machine gun bunkers were built during 1936 to 1940, which was basically the time period that they constructed the Metaxas line, the one that I showed you, the 21 heavily underground complexes that I showed you in the beginning. So our research continued at the Greek Army Archives in Athens. You can see the building here on the picture. There we found a valuable document that allows us to unlock the locations of many more fortification works that we didn't know their existence, and expand obviously the investigation beyond the Grevena region beyond the Grevena region, covering places like Kozani, Florina, and Epirus. We practically cover a 500-kilometer area that we mentioned before. This document, and it's the first page, you can see it here. It was drafted by Major General Panagiotis Deves, and he was like regarding on the organization of this line, the IB, Italian-Bulgarian defensive line, about works that the resistance to fire, to bomb fire, and related to border units. Also, this document contains detailed information about the fortification areas and preparatory work, such as demolition and anti-tank arrangements. So, through field investigation, we confirmed the existence of fortification works in the areas described in the document. There you can see roughly the line, the way that we placed it in the map, generally. Additionally, utilizing modern technologies such as Google Earth and orthophoto maps, we identified more concrete bunkers in heavily vegetated areas that were difficult to access. Our research efforts led to the identification of a total of 215 concrete bunkers, which were mapped, photographed, and geolocated with GPS. And I'm mentioning the number that we have now because we know for a fact that there are more, but we didn't have the time in the meantime to locate it. In selected samples, you can also see one more. This is like in the village. It's like in a suburb of the village. So some of them, it's in the settlements. In selected samples, using photogrammetric methods, we create three-dimensional models of 3 bunkers representing the typology of the overall fortifications, especially in the Grevena area. So you can see a ground plan of these and some pictures where they were taken. And here you can see a 3D model. This was made with an iPhone LiDAR technology, so it's not like perfect, but it was easy for us to do it in terms of financial issues. Let's just be honest. Please mark also this date, 1970, and I will explain you later why is that. And once again, another bunker. I will explain the typology of the bunkers, but those 3 represent all the bunkers that we have found.
All similar?
Yeah, it's the similar type. So we just did 3 of them and covered, let us say, everything. Whenever you see that there is like a missing pattern, it was all because of the vegetation, so the scanner couldn't pick it up. That's why we have this. And some of them are like completely covered with the vegetation. This is the best, this is a good example. There are more. So what is a bunker? Okay, a bunker is a fortification from which military units can fire weapons. Okay, I will pass this one. Some, they take the form of tower blockhouses, semicircular or circular structures with underground tunnels or trenches for added protection. During the fortification campaign, quick-built gun bunkers were excavated into rocky terrain to protect gunners from enemy fire. Natural concealment methods like shrubs and trees along with artificial camouflage were used to hide the structures from the view. Bunkers and machine gun posts of line IB strategically located to control roads, crossings, river bridges and passes. They were grouped around settlements, covering all directions with overlapping field of fire, forming an extensive defensive network. So the type of bunkers, the majority of the bunkers, totaling 205, are classified as simple or dumpled bunkers. In the image we can say dumpled bunker, and you can see my dog as a scale, because I didn't have a scale in the moment. These were built according to French and German standards, but adapted to Greek needs. These structures feature spherical roofs with internal dimensions approximately 1.5 meters wide, 3 meters long, and 1.9 meters high. Inside, they're divided by reinforced concrete partitions, creating separate firing positions, each equipped with firing steps and machine gun bracers for compact operations. The interiors were lit by oil lamps, and each bunker was designed to house a spare machine gun to ensure continuous fire support. So you can see a sketch of a bunker, and you can see a reconstruction of how this gun was set. Additionally, there were observation posts. So this with a wide window, it's the observation post, with spherical semicircular shape characterized by a 10 centimeter high observation embrasure. These posts are protected by steel hatches and clad in wood to prevent ricochet. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Yep. Inside, they measure about 2.9 meters in length and 1.6 meters in width, providing space for observation equipment and personnel, with machine guns available to assist in fire coverage. So you can see the window from inside, and you can see this personnel space, which looks like this. And imagine on the image that there was a bed, or I don't know, a table, something like that. Some bunkers had underground chambers accessed via corridors, 3 to 5 meters long and 1 meter high, very narrow, reached by stone or concrete stairs. Depth varied, some were quite shallow, others about 1.8 meters deep, and the access was via iron ladders. Externally, there were trenches connected with bunkers with wooden or metal shelters for troop protection. So obviously, because of the vegetation, it's not so clear, but you can see some ruins of these fortifications, let's say. Many of these defenses are damaged or buried, requiring basically excavation. Inside the concrete bunkers, graffiti and inscriptions left by soldiers that record regiments, names, and service years. No inscriptions before 1951 were found, initially raising questions about dating, because we thought that we had to deal with bunkers that they were of 40s, but later on we discovered that they were like 1950 and so on. Further research revealed a more complex history, indicating multi-layered and successive uses of this fortification. So, using the combined research method described above, the dating of line IB is established between 1951 and 1955. Some sections were reconstructed, repaired, or fortified with guard posts and shelters at a later stage, mainly during the military dictatorship of George Papadopoulos, he was a colonel, 1967 to 1974. It was the period of the dictatorship, and this is the image that I showed you earlier with the inscription that says 1970s, and I was like, why? So it's important to note that small construction differences distinguish the newer bunkers from those built in the 1936 to 40 period. The latter tend to have a more spherical, circular roof compared to the slightly rectangular or trapezoidal shape of the older bunkers. So this is a more like trapezoidal, more rectangular bunker of 30s, 40s. So you can see it here in a better way. And sometimes inside they also have this concrete and stone made. And this is of the 50s, because you can see it's more spherical and they have the same type of construction. There's no stone in there, just concrete. So the question arises, why the line IB predominantly, because it was designed to be a product of 1936 to 40, was built later after the Great War, the Second World War, and after the Greek Civil War that was between. I will explain to you. Historical events provide the answer. In 1939, the Italian army occupied Albania. That alarmed Greece. Greece finally entered the war in October 1940 when Italian troops invaded from the Greek-Albanian border. The Greek army successfully resisted and advanced into South Albania, while Italy's failure to conquer Greece led to adjustment in Axis plan. In April 1941, German forces occupied Thessaloniki. The Greek government retreated to Crete and later to Middle East. So the IB plan was withdrawing near almost 150 kilometers away from the borders and maintaining a flexible defense line from this Kalamata River and other areas. So this is basically the Kalamata River Elea line, which is like a sub-line near the Greek-Albanian borders. But Papagos, who was the instructor, let's just say, of this plan, was very heavily criticized because they said that you are giving too much of a Greek territory without trying to defend it. So that was initially the plan, to leave the space and be heavily armored behind this Aliakmon River area. And that is the reason why they didn't eventually proceed to construct the IB line back in the 40s, because they kind of like thought that it would be a waste of time, because they would give it anyway. And later on, they did that at the 1970s and 1960s, when Papagos came to the power again, and he like resurfaced the plan back in the 50s. I will explain to you very shortly. The Greek Civil War occurred during the Second World War, so that was really traumatic when it happens to the Greek society. It was really traumatic. Later on in the after 1947, we have the Harry Truman announced a plan to aid countries resisting subjugation, leading to the Marshall Plan in Europe. This aid, of course, aimed to rebuild economies that were destroyed from the Second World War and prevent communism, especially in Greece and Turkey, but came with conditions like suppressing communist threats and limiting recipient independence. These were the leftists, let's just say. So the Greek government, we were right, we were like conservatives, they fought the leftists. So the the Marshall Plan came as an aid to rebuild Greece and at the same time fought back the leftists. So in the meantime, Alexandros Papagos came to power from 1952 to 55. He revived the plan, so he kind of like rebuilt the IB line, but Greece was struggling to keep, how can I say, a balance between giving the money to the military or giving the money for the reconstruction of Greece. And indeed, in 1952, 1950 US review confirmed that much spending focused on military needs and not social needs. Later on, Greece shifted from that and tried to focus to commercial development and not military development. So, after the construction of this line in 1955, that was the end of it. They didn't construct anymore. And there were like some short, how can I say, some short preparations on the existing works later at the 60s and 70s. So thank you very much for this. The program is self-funded, so we are very much open to cooperation and basically to discover more of these. And I want to thank Mr. Marcos Vaxevanopoulos. He is the geologist and he's the one that did the 3D modeling. Konstantinos Matelos and Thimios Khan, who were with me at the field, and we were trying to discover this. This, for instance, is one very impressive bunker of the 50s. So they took a hull of M18, Hellcat tank destroyer. They placed it into a bunker. Yeah, I have to do. Yeah, so this is the inside, and this is an area that we just discovered a few months ago, and there are a lot more bunkers to discover on this area, which is heavily fortified. So this is like the new part of the project. Thank you very much, and sorry for the time.
Thank you very much, Maria. Now we move on to